Then hit broadcast.
Okay. Have fun.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, and welcome to CTL's Education Professional Development Series. My name is Amy Al-Khalisi, EdTech Project Manager here at CTL, and I'm joined by Stephanie Shea, Marketing Manager, and Mike Mahaney, VP and Chief Marketing Officer. For those of you who are not familiar with CTL, we are headquartered in Portland, Oregon, and have been providing innovative IT solutions to education and government customers for over 26 years. Some of our most popular products include our brands of ruggedized CTL and to-go PC laptops, convertibles, 2-in-1s, and tablets designed specifically for K-12 education. Over the last 2.5 years, we've worked with Google to introduce a line of CTL Chromebooks that have been recommended by PC Magazine as the best choice for Chromebooks in education. As part of our commitment to education, CTL is offering monthly professional development webinars for our education customers. These webinars will include a variety of topics relevant to K-12 EdTech, but will have a big focus on Google Apps for education and Chromebooks in the classroom. Today's webinar is Chromebooks for Educators Overview, presented by Blanca Duarte of Logic Wing Professional Development and Technology Consulting. However, before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We've taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your own computer desktop in the upper right-hand corner. You are listening in using your computer speaker system by default. If you would prefer to join over the phone, just select Telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing in your questions into the question pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the question and answer session at the end of today's presentation. If we run out of time, you will be contacted by your sales representative to make sure all your questions are answered. So if any of the attendees have any type of questions, please submit them. Before we begin, I'd like to take a poll to see how familiar everyone is with Chromebooks. So please indicate if you are a beginner or have some experience, have a lot of experience, or an expert. I'm going to back up one slide here and open up this panel so I can launch this poll for you guys. So hopefully everyone will participate. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds or so. Okay, I think all right. Can everybody see that? Looks about 45% no experience, 45% some, 9% a lot of experience, 0 expert. Yeah, it's good. I'm definitely not an expert, so this is going to be great. All right. With this slide, I would like to invite everybody with the NR21 program. Most of you should know about the nr21.ctl.net site. This is our go-to professional site, and we have a Google Plus community that you can get through there for all of the educators. And you just click, once you get in that website, click on join, and a lot of you have already joined, but this is a great way that you guys privately can communicate about anything you want and have questions, classroom curriculum, and more. So please feel free to do that. And I would now like to introduce Blanca Duarte of Logic Wing Professional Development and Technology Consultant. Blanca is a Google Apps certified trainer, Intel Teach Elements online trainer and an online experience educator in public and private sector for over 25 years. And she'll take you through an overview of Chromebooks for education. And at this point, let's see if this works, guys. Technology, I'm going to change the presenter. So you guys are going to change it, you're going to see her screen, and then I'll come back.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All righty, so I'm just going to put myself in present mode. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a really great day. I'm looking forward to spending some time sharing information about Chromebooks with you, and I do encourage you to use the question box to ask any questions that you'd like. We are going to take some questions at the end of the webinar. So my name is Blanca Duarte, and I have been using Google Apps for Education since about 2007 and heavily using the Chromebook since about 2010. What is a Chromebook is kind of the first agenda item that we're going to go over. Then we'll talk about some key differentiators between Chromebooks and other devices. We'll talk about how schools are using Chromebooks in the classroom and how you can get started with them. So what is a Chromebook? Well, Chromebooks are purpose-built devices for using the cloud or the internet. They are easy to use and easy to manage. They boot up in less than 10 seconds and are really great devices for use during the day. The battery life these days goes anywhere from about 8 hours to about 12 hours. Information that is created using the Chromebooks is stored in the cloud, so it's stored in an application called Google Drive, and students and teachers can access their files and folders from anywhere. So the Chromebook allows you to gain access and create the documents, but you can also get access to those documents from mobile devices and other computers. Chromebooks, if you've read the news lately, you know that it is right now the #1 selling device in K-12 schools in the U.S., which is really exciting. There's about 30,000 Chromebooks activated in schools every day. 10 million plus students using Chromebooks around the world. And it's pretty exciting, actually, to be a part of a Chromebook initiative this large. But the good thing is that there have been lots of schools that have been through this before you. And so there's lots that you will learn, but there's also lots that we can learn from others. Educators really have embraced the Chromebook, largely because it complements and supports the Google Apps for Education suite of software. And what you'll know is, and you'll learn pretty quickly, is that sometimes when you have software and kids have to sign on to that piece of software on a computer, that software then becomes something that gets used every once in a while. The great thing about Chromebooks is that as soon as students log into their profile on their Chromebooks, they are ready to go with Google Apps for Education. I think that's part of the reason why those suite of tools actually gets used so much. And Google Apps for Education are a suite of productivity tools. They were created by Google, and they're a huge feature really is their collaboration features. You have the ability to create documents and share them very easily with one person, with a group of people, or with the world if you want to. Applications like Classroom, Gmail, Drive, and Hangouts allow for workflow management and file storage and communication across schools. Applications like Docs, Sheets, and Slides are tools that allow students to create documents and spreadsheets and presentations. Sites are another tool that allow for storage and organization of information, while Vault allows for e-discovery. So these are your core services in Google Apps for Education. And just a little overview about some of the most commonly used core applications. So Google Drive is really storage in the cloud. I like to think about it as my own personal flash drive that never runs out of space. So Google Drive allows you to store an unlimited amount of storage for education. Drive can be used on any tablet, computer, or mobile device because you can access Google Drive from any of those. You can also store any kind of any type of file in Google Drive. So if you have images and PDFs or even Microsoft Office documents, all of them can be uploaded. And you can upload them individually if you'd like, but you can also upload them using folders. So if you have folders nice and neat, organized on a shared drive in your school, those folders can actually be uploaded, 1, 2, 3. Another core feature of the Google Apps for Education suite is this ability to share and collaborate with others. When you are in Google Drive and you see a list of all of your files, any one of those files, whether they are a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, a Google Slide presentation, or they're a PDF, or they're another type of file, like an image file, all of those files can be shared with others. And depending on the type of file, you can allow other people access to edit those documents. You can give them access to comment on them, so they won't be able to change anything, but just they can leave you a little comment. Or if you just want to have most of the protection of the file, then you can just allow them to view. Okay, so some key differentiators between Chromebooks and other devices. The first thing is that they are easy to use. They happen to be easy to manage as well, which really makes life for your IT department. And for some of you who will be taking over those duties, really great. The Google Apps Cloud-based Admin Console can also be used to customize the user experience. So you will be uploading users, or someone will be, into a Google Apps Admin Console, and then depending on the groups of users that are created, you can actually push out applications very easily. You can push out bookmarks to groups of users, or decide whether or not you want certain applications open for groups of users. So if you are using something like Hangouts, which is a chat feature, but you want to turn it off for, let's say, students under 13 years of age, you can do that very easily. The other reason that we say that it's simple is really if your students or teachers have ever used a web browser, they can use a Chromebook. There is no special software. They're just accessing the Chrome browser. Chromebooks are also very affordable. They don't require cutting-edge computing power or complicated software to get students connected and online. They also don't have the support requirements of traditional computing devices or tablets. They don't take a lot of time to actually set up or install administrative tools. Chromebooks are designed to be quickly deployed and managed with less effort than almost any other device used in education. Chromebooks are also secure. They are purpose-built. They have a purpose-built operating system, the Chrome operating system, which is based on Linux, and it really only runs the services necessary to connect to the internet and interact with web-based content. The Chrome OS is updated regularly and only requires a restart to install the latest software. When you have a Chromebook, the easiest way to tell whether you need a restart is there'll be a little arrow on the shelf located at the bottom of the screen. And you don't have to wait for anyone from IT. And on the flip side, the IT department doesn't have to shut all the computers down at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon just to push out updates that require hours of installation. So you can be assured that whether it's September or it's December or it's March, your students have access to the latest and greatest software and the latest and greatest operating system update. Chromebooks are also a great device for online testing. It is very easy to set up the Chromebooks in an online kiosk mode so that students are restricted to just one particular website. You also have features like disabling the camera if you wanted to do that as well. So why really are Chromebooks popular? Well, they're popular because in classrooms where devices are going to be in cards, which is not the instance in your case, but when you have to share Chromebooks, it's very easy to do that. All you have to do is sign out of your profile, give your computer to somebody else, and have them sign in. And when you sign in, you have access to all of your applications, all of your bookmarks, and all of your history. So they really are shareable in that sense. Even if dozens of students use the same device, they can't access any of their fellow students' data, apps, or other information. Oh, and that just skipped a lot of pages. Sorry about that. Okay, so why are schools choosing Chromebooks? Well, as you can see from this slide, there's lots of large school districts choosing to go Chrome. Some of the reasons that they state in some of the case studies show that there is improved writing skills when students begin to use this type of technology. Because Chromebooks allow access to the full suite of Google applications, including doc sheets and slides, it's very easy for them to get into writing mode. They can log in, they click on a couple buttons, and they can immediately start to type. And these productivity tools are enhanced because there's the added functionality of sharing documents with others. So not just students writing together, but also teachers working inside of a document with a student, where they can provide instant feedback and answer questions as they come up. Students can also collaborate on documents with each other. We see this a lot in group work. Teachers can actually track students when they're writing together, who's writing, so who's doing the work, and they can also see the peer-to-peer interactions. We know that peer-to-peer interactions lead to improvement in writing as students learn to give critical feedback to each other. Chromebooks also allow, through their online suite of tools, students to even input text into a document with their voice, which is exciting because sometimes we have students who have difficulty typing or just with writing. So students can type using a keyboard, or they can use voice typing to learn to write with fluency. Finally, the shareability of documents to a wider audience, the whole world, adds a whole level of motivation and purpose for students as they write. So when students write for an audience, we know that they care about their work more, that they pay more attention, because there is an audience outside of those four walls in the classroom. Something else that schools have shared is that students who use technology to collaborate are also developing critical skills that they need to work with others. So we're talking about building teamwork skills. We know that these are skills that are necessary for today's workplace, where we see many people working in the real world on big projects and little projects. So it really does help to foster collaboration. We also see that when students are able to take these devices home, that there's motivation for kids to actually work together, not just in class during school when they're told to, but also beyond the four walls of the classroom with others. Applications like Google Forms and Google Sheets allow teachers to access data from students to assess student knowledge and understanding quickly. So this means that you can have students that walk into your classroom, and before you start a lesson, you can actually survey your students and give them a 5 or 10 question quiz, and you can gather the information about what they know before you even begin your lesson. And this really helps to drive instruction. If you see that a certain percentage of your students, 80–90% of the kids, know about a topic or have some background knowledge, you can certainly adjust and tailor your instruction for the rest of the day. So I'm able to capture what students know. I can also, at the end of the day, capture what they've learned and be able to review information with them. This helps me, again, make sure that as students are leaving my class, if they are having difficulty, I can really address that right away. I don't have to wait for a test that's summarizing information from a lot of different units, or I'm not waiting for state exams, 4 months after a student is taking them. Technology also allows students to drive their own learning. So because students have access to the internet, it allows to be free of constraints to review content maybe that a teacher has shared with them. If a teacher has shared some videos explaining a process, they can rewind and play back those videos as much as they need to. And even those students who find a topic, perhaps an extension that they're interested in learning more about, have the ability to accelerate their own learning as they really extend past the content that's provided to them. So the student can be as involved as they want to be, and teachers can allow students that freedom and access while still being involved and supporting their interests. Finally, students who use technology to collaborate are also developing the skills that they need to work with others. We talked about this a little bit. And technology also, especially the emerging technologies, are allowing for experiences like distance learning, like virtual reality, to be able to be shared with students around the world and not just in their classroom. So how do I get started? Well, in the beginning, this will be the focus of your IT department, or of some of you. You will receive Chromebooks, and the first thing that you'll have to do is really be able to jump into the Chrome Management Console in order to enroll your devices. And if I can just share a couple of slides with you to kind of help you understand what that process looks like. I won't delve too deep, but I do want to put some of your mind at ease. So some of the key features of Chrome device management. You're able to lock devices. So once you enroll devices, you know which devices you have. You have serial numbers and all kinds of information that you can attach to them. But let's say a Chromebook goes missing or it gets lost. Well, you have the ability to disable those Chromebooks very easily. The other thing that you can do is the management of apps and extensions. So those are the programs that students will use besides the core group of Google Apps for Education apps. You're able to send those out to kids and push them out to the Chromebooks very easily. And again, you can do this by groups of students. You can do it by school. So for someone who's managing the Chromebooks, you can get 1,000 devices and be able to push out applications, educational applications like WeVideo, for example, or NoteFlight, which are both applications that are part of this Nevada Ready 21 program. You're able to do that very easily so that every child has access to the tools that they need. Policies for Chromebooks ensure that students are safe on the internet and stay focused on learning tasks. These policies can be modified as students move up in grade level or maturity level. So there are some schools that may decide that some programs are just not ready to be used by, let's say, 6th graders or 7th graders, but they do want to maybe give 8th graders access to it. And those programs can actually be turned on and off in the Chrome, in the Google Apps Admin Console under the Chrome device management. And of course, Chromebooks can be quickly transitioned from their role as day-to-day learning tools to online testing, and back you can turn things like I mentioned earlier, the web cameras on and off. You can disable guest mode so that you don't let students access different accounts on those Chromebooks. So you really do have a lot of power and ability to change those policies as you see fit. This is just a screenshot of what the device management section of the Chrome Admin Console looks like. So you'll see many more devices than you see on your screen right now, but this is where you can keep track of how many mobile devices are using the Google Apps for Education accounts and that are assigned to your school, if there are any. And this is also where you will see your Chrome devices. Now you also have the ability through this same console to manage certain settings for Android and iOS devices. And this screen just gives you some detail about the type of information that you can assign to every Chromebook. Every Chromebook has a unique serial number. It will let you know whether it's provisioned or unprovisioned, which means that it's assigned to your school domain. You can give it your own asset ID number. So some of your schools may have separate asset systems than others. It will also show you the last time that someone accessed the computer, and it will show you the name of the user that logged in with the location. So again, these are really important features to have because sometimes Chromebooks go missing, sometimes they're just misplaced, but information like this gives the school the ability to really distribute these devices with the confidence that they need. In this particular screen, it shows you just a sliver of the features in the Chrome Management console. In this example, I'm showing you that you can actually change the home page for the Chrome Web Store, but you also have the ability to change the home page when students access Chrome. The Chrome Web Store is where you are going to find applications and extensions that will add functionality to the Chromebook. And so in this example, if you look at the second arrow, you'll see that I've actually set up a collection in the Chrome Web Store, which means that I can send my students to my school collection that will have a list of approved applications that they can download. So you have a lot of ability to allow students freedom or to really restrict it to applications that have been vetted by the school. Where it says recommended apps and extensions, that's kind of exciting too because that's where you would manage the apps or extensions that you are going to allow students to use. Okay. And it's a screenshot of the Chrome Web Store. You get a lot of searchability function here. In the Chrome Web Store, you can search by the type of application, whether it's an app or an extension. Apps are sometimes just links, shortcuts to websites where kids may have to log in. And extensions live in your browser bar. So at the end of your URL bar, you will see the extensions. You can do things like take a screenshot. You can also do things like clean up a web page of ads, things like that. And then you'll see that I also highlighted the section that says for the next classroom. And so when you click in that section, the approved apps will show up. Something else I'll draw your attention to is where it says features. You have the ability to search for applications that only run, that have the ability to also run offline. So there are applications, for example, that help students with spelling and with grammar. Some of the applications allow students to read books offline. And you also want to take a look at the ones that say by Google, and those are actual Google applications that you may want to add to the Chromebooks. Okay. So these are some of the most frequently asked questions. And we're going to go through each one of them. And of course, if you need some additional information, this is the time where I'll remind you again to write your questions in the chat box. Does Google protect your data? Well, Google has one of the most secure cloud infrastructures. They have these data centers that are huge with servers, and they also have undersea fiber cables that transfer data between continents. If you've ever seen the colorful data center pictures that Google has online, it's pretty impressive. All of that information is monitored 24/7 to make sure that your digital information is safe and available when you need it. Google themselves keep all of their data on the same servers where our data lives. In fact, when data is distributed across the different data centers, they automatically are moving information around so that if a server goes down, that there's duplicity, so your information is being transferred to another server right away. Each Google data center also has on-premise security such as retina scanners and even laser beams to prevent unauthorized access. Another question that you might have are whether or not Google Apps for Education are ad-free. There are no ads in the suite of Google Apps for Education core services, so you will not see ads popping up. In contrast, some of the third-party applications that you find in the Chrome Web Store have in-app purchases, and so you'll want to make sure that when you are vetting those for your students that you look at the ones that are also ad-free. Can you work offline with Chromebooks? Absolutely. I've been on an airplane many times, and it's wonderful to just be able to, when you don't have Wi-Fi access, be able to get work done. There's a couple ways that you can work with the offline capability. The first thing you need to do is to go into Google Drive and turn on the offline accessibility feature. So that will allow you to download files to your Chromebook so that you can access them. So this helps students especially who take their Chromebook home and don't have the ability to connect to the internet, whether it's by parents' choice or whether it's just because they live in a rural area. You can also create files offline, so students can use Google Docs and start their essay, or they can create a presentation, and as soon as they're connected back to a network and the internet, their information syncs to the cloud. You can also access Google Apps on mobile devices. So these are your smartphones and tablets. Each one of those, the offline capability function feature will look a little bit different, but basically when you are in, let's say that you have an app like Google Docs on your Android device or on your iPhone, when you click on settings, you can say make this file available offline. And what it will do is it will actually download a copy of that file and make it accessible for you when you are not connected to the internet. This one is a big one. Are Chromebooks enabled for printing? Chromebooks can be enabled for printing using something called Google Cloud Print. So Google Cloud Print is a technology that allows you to print over the web from anywhere, including your phone, to any printer. This is actually set up by those who are managing your Chromebooks, and they'll manage it by groups of users, and they will pick, what happens is they select the printers that have the ability to use Cloud Print, and it doesn't matter if I'm in a classroom or I'm at home, I'm actually able to access and send my information, transmit the information to a very specific printer if I want to. Remote access applications allow you to run legacy apps on Chrome devices or use Chrome devices with your existing infrastructure. So there are applications that will allow you to gain access to software that needs to be downloaded and run on your machine. And there are several solutions that are available. If you are interested or you absolutely need to have specific apps that just won't run on the Chromebook, there are applications that will allow you to do that for an additional fee. And those are third-party software platforms. This is one that makes me laugh a little bit because I have heard so many times people say to me that Chromebooks do not have a hard drive, but in fact that they do. Chromebooks don't typically have a huge hard drive, but that's because the information that the documents that you're creating are cloud-based. So you're actually creating information on servers and not locally. So Chromebooks do have a hard drive. They're not very big because Chromebooks are purpose-built to be used on the cloud, in the cloud. But if you do, for example, end up downloading a file for offline access, or sometimes when you find PDFs, this happens a lot to me. If I find a PDF and I click on it, sometimes it automatically downloads locally. And so there is another app on your Chromebook, which I'll show you in a little bit, called Files. You just go to Files and you can see all of the downloads, and you'll have a downloads folder that show all of the files that have been downloaded locally, and then those are easily moved to Google Drive if you want to keep a copy of it. Do Chromebooks have enough RAM and processing speed? Absolutely. So remember, Chromebooks are purpose-built for the cloud. So when it comes to RAM, because you won't have client apps to manage on your machine, you don't need that much RAM. That's number one. Everything that you're doing is being taken care of by super fast and super secure supercomputers, right, in the Google data centers. Your hard drive, because all of your computing happens in the cloud, again, you don't need a super big hard drive, and your processing speed is enough to really let you multitask very quickly between tabs. Okay. So some other questions that you may have. how do you access your Google accounts using a Chrome browser? So whether you're using a Chromebook or a Chrome browser, you can get access to multiple Google accounts. Some of us have multiple school Google accounts. Maybe we use a demo user or we have an admin user account. When you're on a Chromebook, the way that you access those different profiles is just by logging in and out of your profile. But let's say that you're on a different machine. Maybe you're on a desktop in your classroom or your home. You have the ability to access each one of your Google accounts, whether it's a Google Apps account or it's a Gmail account, through something called multiple profiles. So on the upper right-hand corner of the Chrome browser, when you are using Windows or Mac, you'll see your name actually when you are signed into Chrome. And the way that you would switch user accounts is you would click on your name on the upper right-hand corner, and you would say, let me click now. It says switch person, and when you click on switch person, you'll get a little pop-up window that has all the different accounts that you've set up. You can set up persons either through this particular dialog box, or you can go into the Chrome menu and add different personas. And as you can see, I even have different icons for my different personas. The reason why you would do this is because sometimes you're in your work account and you want to look for something personal, or you want to check your personal Gmail account, and so you can switch back and forth easily without fear of mixing up or creating a document in one account when you really want it in another. The other reason why you want to use multiple accounts is it will allow you access to all of your personalized settings. So if I have apps that I use at school, but I have different apps that I use on my personal account, I can have access to those easily when I switch back and forth. Okay. This is one that comes up in trainings, and this is your Files app. So on a Chromebook, you would look for your Files application in order to be able to see whether or not you have downloaded files. On the left-hand navigation menu, you'll notice that first it will give you your Google Drive, so that's access to all of your files in the cloud. Then there's a section for offline, okay, and those are where all of your offline or downloaded Google Docs will show up. Then you have a filter called Downloads, and that's where all of the downloaded files on your Chromebook will show up. And finally, you also have access to a flash drive. So your Chromebooks have a USB port. You can put a flash drive in there, and you get access to all the other documents. And you can transfer documents easily between a flash drive or a local folder and your Google Drive account. We have Chromebook keyboard shortcuts. This is something else that comes up in trainings, and believe me, you will become a pro after using the Chromebook for a couple of weeks. This one's one of the most requested one. How do I take a screenshot? So I'm on the internet and I find maybe a little blurb that I want to put in a presentation, or I have an image. I can use a couple of different shortcut keys, which are found on the very top of your keyboard. Hit Control and be able to save images, either save the entire image or save part of the screen. And if you have a Chromebook handy and you want to try this, you can press Control Alt and the question mark to view a map of all of the different keyboard shortcuts. The one that I like the best is the one that looks like a little magnifying glass. That one is called the search key or the launcher key, and that will open up a little dialog box that will give you access to all of the apps on your Chromebook. In front of you, this is just the Chromebook Desktop. So you'll see, it doesn't look too different than a regular desktop does. Those images in the background are customizable. A lot of schools like to put their own logo and upload their own logo so that they can tell that kids are where they need to be when they're signed in. On the bottom of the desktop, you'll notice that there is kind of a dark gray overlay. That's called the shelf, okay? On other systems, it might be called a dock. And this is where you will see the launcher, which is that little magnifying glass that will get you to your All Apps button and the Chrome Web Store, as well as your recently used applications. The application icons, Chrome, Gmail, and Google Keep, are the ones that show up in the in the presentation slide, those can be pinned, so you can actually pin the icons or the applications that you use most frequently, or they can also be pinned by the administrator. So if I have 6th grade students and I want to pin specific apps because I know that most of the 6th grade students will be using specific apps, as the administrator I can pin apps for all of the 6th grade students. The same with 7th and 8th grade. And then depending on the way that it's set up, you can actually have all the students in your middle school have the same pinned apps. On the right-hand side, you'll see the status menu. So, and you'll also see a profile picture. If you click on your profile picture, you will get access to see things like your network status, how much battery life you have left. I teach kids to look to make sure that they have a network connection before they all raise their hand and tell me that they don't. This is also where you sign out. Okay, so I'm hoping we have some more questions because I want to pause before I finish up and kind of share with you some places and some resources that you can start looking at to use with your teachers to help them learn how to use Google Apps tools in their classroom. So Amy, do we have any questions?
Hi, this is Stephanie Shea, I'm Marketing Manager here at CTL. I've been gathering questions during your presentation, and we do have a few. So yeah, I'll jump in and read them. The first one is kind of about how Chromebooks work compared to other devices. There was someone who has used the Google apps before, but not on a Chromebook. So maybe you touched on it a little bit. Maybe you can kind of talk about how using it on a Chromebook is different than using it on other devices.
Well, I have good news for you. There really is no difference. The only difference is that on a regular, like a desktop, for example, or a laptop, you actually have to click on the Chrome browser, and then you have to log into Chrome in order to get access to your files. On a Chromebook, before you can even click on the Chrome browser, you have to sign in, and so you're already signed in on a Chromebook. But everything looks exactly the same. You have an apps launcher that you can click on to see Google Docs and Google Drive, and that will get you directly to your files. So the usability, the only difference is that on one, you're signing into your desktop first, and then you're signing into Google Chrome. On the Chromebook, you're only signing in once.
Okay, great. And just kind of in essence, that answers another question further down where someone wanted to know if you could use Google Apps with other browsers besides Chrome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you go to, if you log into your Google Drive and your Google Apps accounts on other browsers, they will work. It's just that if you use Google's browser, they're going to work the best.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Another question we have is regarding kiosk mode, which I'm not sure you covered. Is this something that is pushed out via management or by machine? Does that make sense?
It does, and it depends on how your Chromebooks are set up, because you can enroll Chromebooks in their own sub-org if the person who's asking knows a little bit about sub-organizations. But you can turn kiosk mode on and off for groups for a sub-org. So if you have Chromebooks in a sub-org, you can actually turn kiosk mode on for all of them at once. Kiosk mode is a mode that allows you to put devices just in one, on one web page. So you can actually force all the devices to just be on one web page and not allow kids access to other types of things. Kiosks, sometimes you see kiosks in like a mall, or perhaps you see it in a nursing center, and they usually are set up so that you can do one thing, like vote or register or something like that. But we do see that also sometimes in testing environments, where if you want students to just be able to take some type of online assessment and you don't want them to be able to open up another tab to look for answers, for example, you can do that.
Can I interject there for a moment, Blanca? This is Amy. I did speak with our network development project director, and something else that, to answer that question, I believe it came from Raymond, was that as far as the kiosk mode, it can be set up with the management, the user management for teacher user devices can have more access to open up apps versus student access. So that can all be set up individually on the computers or through the whoever with the individual schools, the admin and the network support system will be able to do that for this NR21 program.
Great.
So if there's any more questions regarding that.
Well, there was a question about the management from the Google admin console, and they just wanted to clarify if that's done on each specific machine or it's done universally through the Google admin console.
It can be done on each computer, and through the Google admin you can give the permission for teacher devices and separately for student devices
so
as
it can
well.
be either.
Yeah.
And we had it's likely a teacher, Mary Ann, asking, can the teachers do these tasks, or is it just the admin person?
I can answer that. So when the Google Apps Administrator is designated for your school, and I imagine that for some districts it'll be at the district level, and for some districts it might be at the school level, you actually have the ability to assign roles to teachers. So it really depends on the role of the school and whether or not those Chromebooks are going to be centrally managed or they're going to be managed at a school level. But I'll give you a for instance. You can set up a teacher role where if you've got teachers in a sub-organization, you can give them the ability to change passwords for students. That's just one example. So I may not want the teacher to be able to do everything, but resetting a password sometimes is really important. And sometimes you just don't have, depending on the process, you don't have any time to wait. You want to be able to get that child on the applications that they need. So you can set up specific roles with specific permissions.
Okay, great. Here's another one. What is the youngest age or grade you've used with students in Google Apps? For example, where students used his or her own specific Google account.
Kindergarten is the youngest.
Okay, that's the youngest. Okay.
Yeah, because remember, some kids may, some of the Google Apps applications are going to be more appropriate than others, right? Students in kindergarten don't necessarily know how to type, but now you have voice typing. However, they can access a presentation that I've created for them, or there might be an app that helps them with grammar or with letter recognition if you're in kindergarten. So, so there are things that all students can do with the Chromebook.
Okay. Here's one from Susan. You mentioned the ability to print. Can individual users set this up, or does it have to be done by the IT department?
Only the super admin user can set up Cloud Print unless there's been a role assigned. So that's really in the beginning of the process as Chromebooks are being enrolled in your school domain. You want to make sure that the person who is handling that knows all of the network ready and Cloud Print capable printers that are in the building so that they can set those up and then they can assign them to the appropriate users. That is something though that super admin does.
Okay, that's good to know. And then this is kind of in reference to the kiosk mode again. Would a classroom teacher normally have access or knowledge to force kiosk mode to his or her own class? They were wondering if the class would have to be set up as its own sub-org.
Kiosk mode is usually only used for online testing purposes.
Okay.
So if a teacher is looking for more control over what is being shown on a Chromebook, there are some third-party applications that will let you do that. But you wouldn't use kiosk mode.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, I think the concern was maybe because there's 2 to 4 Google controllers per school, maybe minimizing, how much they have to go to the controllers. I'm thinking that was the reason for that one. So let me make sure I haven't skipped anything.
And I'll just add, Stephanie, that and to everybody listening, there are Google Apps admin webinars next week.
Yes.
And so we would encourage people to attend those, because those will definitely go into more depth about how that Chrome Admin Console is set up and what permissions you can set.
Yeah, that's right. There's one on Tuesday from 2 to 3, and then a follow-up on Friday at the same time that's just going to be for question and answer. And at the end of our presentation, you'll see the NR21 link where you can go to that website and sign up for those webinars. So at this time, I'm not seeing, I'm going to scroll through one more time and make sure I didn't miss anybody's question, but it's looking like you covered quite a bit. Yes, I think we're done with the questions that I have here.
Terrific. And I just want to leave the listeners with 2 other resources that will really, I think, help them deploy and ensure that teachers have the support that they need. The first one is the Google Education Training Center, and that's a slide that I currently have up. That training center gives you information on how to use tools, if you're looking specifically on how to use them. You can also get certified. There are certifications for Google that educators can take, and there are even online modules where they can learn more about the tools and more about the application of those tools in specific content areas or classroom experiences. So that URL is edutrainingcenter.withgoogle.com. I know that's a mouthful. Or you can just Google the Google Education Training Center. The other resource, of course, is the Google Plus community, and I know that you'll be sharing that URL and that information with folks before we leave, but I just do want to want to encourage participants to join the Google Plus community. Number one, it's like you mentioned earlier, it's a private space that we have to reach out to each other for help, to ask each other questions, to share what we're doing in the classroom. We really want it to be an active online community. So I think we'll do things like share a picture day and and have special days where we share information online. Because this project is really spans across the entire state, we want to make sure that people feel like they have a home that they can come to. So whether it's the website where they're going for information, or it's the Google Plus community, I think it's important that that we do our best to try and stay active and connected.
I have one more thing to add too regarding next week's events. Anyone on this call, if you can share with IT people that are at your school, please spread the word. We're getting the word out online, and but if you know of anybody, please do share that information.
Okay, great. It sounds like that's great. I'm going to switch over back to my screen for a follow-up. Can everybody see that? So I wanted to say thank you to Blanca and everyone for attending today's webinar. There was a lot of information covered in the Chromebooks Education for Overview, so please don't hesitate to email me, email Blanca. Please go to our nr21.ctl.net site. That's how you're going to get access to the Google Plus community, and you just click to join. And like Stephanie said, that the webinars for next week as well. So at this time, I think we're just going to end this. If you have any other questions, contact us, email us. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation, and we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your feedback. You will also receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. And there can be also a link, if requested, to add to the Google Slides that Blanca just shared as well. So on behalf of CTL and our presenters, thank you for joining us today and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.